All right, track wrestling here in Finland with Arizona State coach Zeke Jones. Junior World Championships get going Tuesday. You got Zahid, Valencia here. I guess first of all, Zeke, you've been on tons of international trips from the standpoint of travel and logistics and all that. How has this gone from a smoothness standpoint?
Well, I think it's like anything. It's a typical World Championships. You know, to be the best in the world, it's not just having a double leg or a single leg or an ankle ace, right? To be able to deal with the conditions, which is time change, different food, hotel, lack of communication, you know, just to go to the grocery store, things like that. But, you know, I think those that do well just have a really easygoing, focused approach, and I think right now it's like to be expected. Some things go pretty smoothly. Once all the foreigners start to show up, which they are now, it gets to be busier and more difficult.
Zahid is no stranger to international competition. What have you seen from him in his training in recent weeks, and how has he evolved since last year's?
Yeah, I think first off, his experience level is high, right? I mean, I think we've done a pretty good job developmentally around the United States where we're getting our younger guys more opportunities than, 10 years ago. And Zahid has a ton of international experience. You know, we were in Cuba just a month ago training with their national team. So I think the expectation for him is, hey, I've been here, I've done it, I know what to do. Now I just got to put it together and get my hand raised.
You mentioned the Cuba trip. How did that get set up, and what did you guys get out of it?
Well, I think it's, the opportunity to be the national coach for an extended period of time. I've developed relationships all over the world, and the head coach of the Cuba team, Julio Mendieta, is a very close friend of mine. Of course, we're adversarial friends, right? We try to beat each other, but we also understand if you want to be the best in the world, you have to train with the best in the world. And it's just pretty much an email to work with him. And of course, on our coaching staff is Haislan Garcia, right? 3 Olympic teams for Canada, but is from Cuba. So I think between Haislan and, of course, our relationships with, all the foreign countries, particularly Cuba, is how it ended up happening.
What did you guys get out of it?
Well, I counted 9 world Olympic medalists training in the room that day or every day, and you have that kind of talent in a room. You humanize people. Somebody, you see him and you hear about him, he's the best in the world, he's a world champion, but when you put hands on him and you feel him, you're thinking, oh, I've taken him down, I can beat him. But until you feel guys at that level, you don't know. It's the uncertainty part. Well, I mean, from top to bottom of their lineup, they have excellent wrestlers. And for our guys who are just, in college, university, they get an opportunity to train with those guys and say, yeah, I can beat them. I can be as good as them.
Going back to what we talked about at the top with Zahid, him and Anthony were your first 2 recruits, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. ASU was 61st in the country that year. I call Anthony and Zahid the first believers. They were the first ones to believe that Arizona State could become great again, and they went on faith, right? That they had this faith that Arizona State could be good and a tremendous amount of trust. And I think now we're getting in that place, right, where ASU can be a top 5 type program with, them leading the way. And, with those 2 brought Tanner Hall and Shields, Maruka, to guys like Nashawn Garrett that are training in the room every day. So, in 3 years, we've got to that place, and Zahid and Anthony are obviously the 2 that started it.
What else have they brought?
Well, they bring a lot of maturity to the program. They understand how hard it is and how hard you have to train to be great. Their dad, Ruben, did a super job of laying a super foundation that now they can get to that top level in the world. And, they got just a great personality and good leadership skills, the things that you're looking for when you're trying to rebuild a program.
You talk about being 61st that first year, and you aren't dealing so much with who's going to go where. You got some pieces to put together next year, and how are they all going to fit together in that lineup?
I don't tend to worry about, who's going where so much as they figure it out themselves, right? I mean, I think they wrestle each other every day in practice to, well, you go up, I'll go down, we'll figure it out. They generally sort it out before I need to. It's like anything. I think once they start to, they're doing it now. I can already see it. Some of them are starting to lose weight. Some are starting to gain weight. And it generally always makes sense because they realize how we can be the best team. But like anything, if we need to intervene and say, hey, might be better for you to go up or you to go down, we'll do it at that point. But I don't think, right now, I think it's sorting itself out pretty good.
You think Zahid stays at 74?
It's a good question. I think, can he wrestle 84? I mean, you see him at the World Championships at 84, right? But I don't think he cuts a lot of weight, right, for 84, where 74, he's not even really cutting a lot of weight. So, I really can't tell you because we haven't even had the discussion. What I know is, in his mind, he can win at 74 or 84. It's really not him. It's probably the other guys. Can they win at a different weight? For him, I think it's pretty simple. He can win anywhere.